What's up, everybody? So this video is going to be a little bit different. I have literally nothing prepared right now. We are going to do a 45-minute start to finish dinner, and you're going to be along for the ride. So starting right now, we're not going to do any cuts whatsoever. I'm going to speed up the video occasionally when I'm not doing anything. And just to show you that cooking doesn't have to be a massively time-consuming and mentally consuming endeavor, while I'm not cooking, I'm actually going to start putting together a Lego set that I have behind me. Now that's not going to get done in the 45 minutes for my cook time, but I wanted to show you that it is possible for you to come home after work, cook something delicious while you are also relaxing, doing something that you love to do. So let's get started. I'm going to put 45 minutes on the clock right now. All right, so first thing that I'm going to do, I want to get my oven preheating 400 degrees because I'm going to be making a steak. Now the steak that I have here is going to be a skirt steak. With that I have some corn that I'm going to use and some lime. I also want to get out my cilantro. I will need more of this stuff later on, but for right now, this is what I want to get out.
I sped up the camera while I'm doing some prep work. I get out all of the pans and pots that I'm going to need. I have one stainless steel pan for the steak. I have one nonstick pan for the corn. I have one nonstick saucepan for my rice. The ingredients that you will need for this meal is one skirt steak, 2 limes, 2 ears of corn that to take the silk off, rub with a terry cloth towel. That'll help pull the silk away from the actual ear. You're also going to need some Cotija cheese, sour cream, butter, cilantro, garlic powder, onion powder, red pepper flake, salt. I use bacon fat to cook my corn in, and then of course water for the rice. But once I have almost everything out of the fridge and out of my cupboards, I go and I start prepping my Lego set, which as a reminder is a Lego R2-D2. That won't get completed in the time of this cook that you'll see today, but it'll take me a couple of days. And now that I have my Legos prepped, let's hear back from Real-Time Mike.
33 minutes left to go. I am putting the steak in right now. The pan is going to be nice and hot. Got that sizzle going right now. This is going to sear for a couple of minutes on each side, and then I'm going to throw it in the oven to finish. I have my rice still going. My pan for the corn is still cold because I'm nowhere near needing it. But I'm going to go ahead and get to cooking again, and I will occasionally start working on my Lego model.
Now that I've started cooking, I can go ahead and start taking better stock of my Legos, which you see me doing in the background now. Occasionally, I'm going to come check on the steak. I'm going to flip it once, and I want to make sure that the rice is not boiling over and making a huge mess. So while I'm also checking on the steak, I occasionally vent the top of my saucepan so that it doesn't overboil. You saw that I put the steak into the oven. That's going to go for about 10 minutes, giving me time to work on my Legos and then doing some occasional prep work. I'm going to chop a bunch of cilantro. That's going to go into 3 different dishes here. Some for my white guy elote, some for my rice, and then some for the actual steak. So I divide that up. I squeeze 1 unzested lime into the bowl with some of the cilantro. I'm going to zest one of the other limes into some of the other cilantro so that that can go into my rice, as you see there. Then that zested lime is going to be juiced, put over the steak whenever that comes out. And now I'm preheating my pan for my corn. This is only going to be a few more minutes of me playing with my Legos before I have to start cooking again. And right now I'm about to pull my steak, get that resting onto a cutting board, juicing some lime over it, put the cilantro, and just letting that rest for several minutes. and you're about to hear from real-time Mike just to fill you in on what's left to do.
So we have 20 minutes left on the clock right now. As you can see, I just put my corn in. My steak is resting and sitting with some lime juice and some fresh chopped cilantro. My rice is done. I am about to go ahead and put my cilantro and lime, a little bit of salt and some butter in with that. And I am in the last few stages here. So again, I'm going to go back to my Legos. I'm going to keep cooking up this corn. And whenever it is all done, I'm going to show you the final product.
So this is the least mentally taxing part of this cooking effort. The corn is basically going to go almost undisturbed, just stirring it every little bit, as you can see me doing here. But the rice is already done. The steak is still resting. So this gives me an opportunity to just de-stress, get out the last bit of my ingredients, and to finish the first stage of my Lego set. As I mentioned at the beginning, cooking doesn't have to be a super stressful activity. You can use it not only as a way to feed yourself, but you can also use it as a way to de-stress. So I occasionally check on my corn. I make sure that the butter, cilantro, and lime zest is stirred into my rice so that that can start absorbing all of the flavor. And I'm listening for my corn to occasionally start popping. That popping is going to let me know that it is developing some nice golden brown flavor around the outside of the corn. And once I see that most of the corn has developed that nice golden brown around the outside, that's when I'm eventually going to pull it from the heat. But it's going to take a couple of minutes of just leaving it cooking unattended. So I go ahead and I take this time to not only pet the dog, I will be letting her outside shortly once she realizes she can't have any steak, but I get out the last bit of ingredients, some sour cream and some Cotija cheese. That is going to go into my white guy elote, and that eventually is going to take all of that corn that has been cooking for a few minutes. We have a few minutes left to go, so I finish up the corn, I put that into the bowl, get that stirred in with the ingredients, the Cotija cheese and the sour cream, and now we are about to hear from real-time Mike as he is going to finish up the total dish.
So there are 2 minutes left on the clock, and all I have to do right now is plate. I'm going to walk you through everything that I did just so that you can remember. So the very first thing that I did is I went ahead and I got my steak cooking. After the oven was preheated and once we got all of the searing done, I popped it into the oven for a couple of minutes. I continuously poked it to check its doneness. I'm looking for medium rare on this steak. Then I turned off the oven. The corn is super simple. Once it's taken off the cob, you saute it with a little bit of salt, garlic powder, onion powder until you get a nice little color on it. Then what you want to do is you toss in some cilantro, some lime juice, some red pepper flake with that cooked corn. Toss in a little bit of sour cream and some Cotija cheese, and there you have my take on an elote salad. Then for the rice, all that I did was I steamed it in a 2-to-1 ratio of water to rice. Once that was done, I put in about a tablespoon of butter, some chopped cilantro, some lime zest, and some salt, and that was cooking. Now everything is done. I have 40 seconds on the clock. All that I have to do is get this cut up. So I'm going to cut up this steak. Down goes rice, steak, and with 0 time to spare, the elote goes down. And that is a 45-minute start to finish meal right here.